Madison had always prided herself on being in control. She was the kind of person who liked order, structure, and precision. As the manager of Bella's Boutique, a small but upscale clothing store in downtown Los Angeles, she made sure everything ran smoothly. The boutique was her pride and joy, a place where customers came not just to shop but to experience elegance. Every detail, from the soft lighting to the neatly arranged racks of designer dresses, was carefully curated by Madison herself. But that day, something felt off. It was one of those afternoons where the air seemed heavier than usual, and the hum of conversation outside drifted through the open door. Madison stood behind the counter, tapping her pen against the edge of the cash register. Business had been slow all morning, and she was starting to feel the pressure. The owner of the boutique had set ambitious sales targets for the month, and Madison knew she needed to pick up the pace if she wanted to meet them. Just as she was about to check the inventory list again, the bell above the door jingled. 2 teenage girls walked in, their laughter filling the quiet space like a sudden burst of color. One of them wore a bright yellow hoodie, while the other had her hair styled into braids adorned with beads that clicked softly as she moved. They were Tiffany and Brianna, though Madison didn't know their names yet. All she noticed at first was their energy. The girls weren't like the usual customers who entered the boutique. Most people who came in were older women or polished, professionals looking for high-end pieces. These 2 were different. They carried an air of casual confidence, chatting animatedly as they strolled down the aisles. Their sneakers squeaked faintly against the polished floor as they browsed through the racks, occasionally pulling out a dress or scarf to examine it more closely. At first, Madison tried to ignore them. She told herself that maybe they were just curious teenagers exploring the store. But as the minutes passed, their voices grew louder, echoing off the walls. They laughed at jokes only they understood, occasionally pointing at items and making comments that Madison couldn't quite hear. To her, it felt disruptive. The boutique was supposed to be a calm, sophisticated environment, not a playground. Madison sighed and glanced at the clock. She reminded herself to stay patient. After all, every customer deserved respect, no matter their age or background. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Her eyes followed the girls as they wandered deeper into the store, their movements carefree and unbothered. Then it happened. Tiffany reached for a silk scarf hanging on a nearby rack, but as she stretched her arm, her elbow accidentally caught the edge of a display stand. With a loud clatter, the stand toppled over, sending scarves and accessories tumbling to the floor. For a moment, there was silence. Tiffany froze, her cheeks flushing red as she stared at the mess she'd caused. Brianna quickly bent down to help pick up the fallen items, muttering an apology under her breath. Madison felt her patience snap. "What are you doing?" she blurted out, her voice sharper than she intended. The girls turned to look at her, startled. Tiffany straightened up, clutching the scarf she had been holding. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "It was an accident." "It's fine," Brianna added, trying to smooth things over. "We'll fix it." But Madison wasn't listening. Something inside her boiled over. Frustration, stress, and maybe even a hint of prejudice she hadn't fully acknowledged until now. Instead of offering understanding, she found herself saying, "Maybe this isn't the place for you. Some people just don't belong here." The words hung in the air like a storm cloud. Tiffany and Brianna exchanged looks, their expressions shifting from embarrassment to hurt. For a second, neither of them said anything. Then Tiffany shook her head, her lips pressed tightly together. Without another word, she dropped the scarf back onto the counter and stormed toward the exit, Brianna close behind her. As the door slammed shut behind them, Madison felt a pang of regret. What had she just done? She looked around the store, half expecting someone to say something, but the few customers present avoided her gaze. The room felt colder somehow, as if her own words had drained the warmth from the space. Little did Madison know this moment would mark the beginning of a chain reaction she couldn't have predicted. Unbeknownst to her, one of the other customers, a middle-aged woman browsing near the window, had quietly recorded the entire incident on her phone. By the time Madison finished cleaning up the fallen display, the video was already online, captioned with the words, "Boutique manager loses," on teenage shoppers. Within hours, social media erupted. Comments poured in, criticizing Madison's behavior and accusing her of racism. People shared personal stories of similar experiences, turning the incident into a broader conversation about discrimination in retail spaces. Meanwhile, Tiffany and Brianna returned home, still reeling from the encounter. What Madison failed to realize was that Tiffany and Brianna weren't ordinary teenagers. They were adopted daughters of Lauren Carter, a prominent advocate for diversity and inclusion. Lauren had spent years fighting against systemic racism and championing equal opportunities for marginalized communities. When she heard about what had happened to her daughters, she decided it was time to take action. Back at the boutique, Madison sat alone in her office, replaying the events of the afternoon in her mind. She couldn't believe how quickly things had spiraled out of control. The weight of her words pressed down on her chest, leaving her feeling trapped. Little did she know, this was only the beginning of a journey that would force her to confront not just her actions but also long-buried secrets about her own identity. As night fell over Los Angeles, the city buzzed with conversations about the viral video. Social media users debated whether Madison deserved forgiveness or condemnation. News outlets picked up the story, amplifying its reach. And somewhere in the midst of it all, a truth about Madison's past lay hidden, waiting to come to light. For now, though, Madison remained unaware of the storm brewing around her. She locked up the boutique and headed home, her thoughts swirling with guilt and confusion. She had always seen herself as a hard-working, fair-minded person. How had everything gone so wrong? Unbeknownst to her, answers and challenges were closer than she imagined. By the time Madison woke up the next morning, the world had changed, or at least her small corner of it had. She reached for her phone on the nightstand, half expecting a quiet start to the day. Instead, she was greeted by a flood of notifications. Her heart sank as she scrolled through message after message, each one more critical than the last. The video of her confrontation with Tiffany and Brianna had gone viral overnight. Social media platforms were ablaze with discussions about the incident. Comments ranged from angry to hurtful, with many accusing Madison of racism and insensitivity. Some people defended her, saying everyone makes mistakes, but their voices were drowned out by the overwhelming tide of criticism. One comment caught Madison's eye. "This is why black girls can't shop in peace." The words stung deeply, making her feel smaller than she ever had before. She tried to remind herself that it was just one bad moment, one lapse in judgment. But the internet didn't care about context or nuance. All anyone saw was a white boutique manager snapping at two black teenagers, and that image was enough to fuel outrage. As the hours passed, the situation only worsened. Local news outlets picked up the story, airing segments about the growing controversy. Reporters stood outside Bella's boutique, interviewing passers-by about what they thought of Madison's behavior. Some customers who frequented the store came forward, sharing their own experiences. While a few spoke kindly of Madison, others revealed moments when they too had felt unwelcome in the boutique. Madison sat glued to her couch watching the coverage unfold on TV. Each word felt like a punch to the gut. She wanted to turn it off, to escape the relentless wave of judgment crashing over her. But she couldn't look away. It was as if she needed to see the full extent of the damage she had caused, no matter how painful it was. Then there was Kayla. Tiffany's older sister hadn't wasted any time. After hearing about the incident from her younger siblings, Kayla immediately took to social media to share their side of the story. She posted screenshots of the viral video alongside a heartfelt caption describing how hurt Tiffany and Brianna had been. Kayla tagged several local news stations and influencers, ensuring the post gained traction. Within minutes, her tweet exploded. People began sharing it widely, adding their own thoughts and tagging celebrities known for speaking out against racism. One user even pointed out that Tiffany and Brianna were adopted daughters of Lauren Carter, a well-known advocate for diversity and inclusion. That detail added fuel to the fire, drawing even more attention to the case. Lauren Carter herself soon became involved. Known for her calm demeanor and powerful speeches, Lauren released a statement addressing the incident. She expressed disappointment not only in Madison's actions, but also in the lack of accountability shown by businesses like Bella's Boutique. "We teach our children to dream big and believe in themselves," Lauren wrote. "But encounters like this remind us that society still has work to do." Her statement went viral almost instantly. Supporters rallied behind Lauren, praising her for standing up for her daughters while using the moment to highlight larger issues of discrimination. Hashtags like Meow Justice for Tiffany and Brianna and Chow Shop While Black began trending nationwide. Protesters gathered outside Bella's Boutique, holding signs that read, "Black girls belong everywhere and end retail racism." Amid the chaos, the boutique owner issued a public apology. In a carefully worded statement, he condemned Madison's behavior and promised to implement new training programs focused on diversity and inclusion. He also announced that Madison would be placed on temporary leave pending an investigation into the incident. For Madison, the news hit hard. Losing her job, even temporarily, felt like losing a part of herself. Managing Bella's Boutique had been her life for years. It was where she poured her energy, her creativity, and her dreams. Now, it seemed, everything she had worked for was slipping through her fingers because of one careless moment. Desperate for advice, Madison called her mother, Susan. They hadn't spoken much lately. Madison had always been fiercely independent, preferring to handle problems on her own. But this time, she needed guidance. As the phone rang, she braced herself for the conversation ahead. "Mom," Madison said when Susan answered, her voice trembling. "Something happened at the boutique." Susan listened quietly as Madison recounted the events leading up to the viral video. When Madison finished, there was a long pause on the other end of the line. Finally, Susan spoke, her tone gentle but firm. "I'm sorry you're going through this, sweetheart. You made a mistake and now you have to face the consequences, but remember, this doesn't define you. What matters is what you do next." Madison nodded, though Susan couldn't see her. "I know," she whispered. "But Mom, I don't even know where to start." Susan hesitated as if weighing her next words carefully. Then she said, "There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you a long time ago." Madison frowned. "What is it?" Susan took a deep breath. "Your father, the man you grew up thinking was your dad. He's not your biological father." The room seemed to spin. Madison gripped the edge of the couch, her mind racing. "What are you talking about?" "Before I met your stepdad," Susan continued, "I dated someone else. His name was Dwayne Johnson." Madison's jaw dropped. "Dwayne Johnson? Like The Rock?" "Yes," Susan said softly. "He and I were together briefly during his early wrestling days. We parted ways before you were born, and I chose not to tell him about you. I thought it was best at the time. But now seeing you struggle like this, maybe reaching out to him could help." Madison stared at the wall, trying to process what she had just heard. Her entire life, she had believed she knew exactly who she was and where she came from, but now everything felt uncertain. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Madison asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was scared," Susan admitted. "Scared of complicating things. Scared of how you might react. I didn't want you to feel like you didn't belong. But now, I think it's time you knew the truth." Madison hung up the phone, feeling numb. She walked to the window and stared out at the city below, her mind swirling with questions. Was this really happening? Could her biological father actually be Dwayne Johnson? And if so, what did that mean for her? Despite her shock, a tiny spark of hope flickered inside her. Maybe, just maybe, this revelation could be the lifeline she needed. If anyone understood resilience and redemption, it was Dwayne Johnson. Perhaps he could offer her guidance, not just as a celebrity, but as a father figure who had faced challenges of his own. With trembling hands, Madison grabbed a pen and paper. She decided to write him a letter, pouring her heart out in the hopes that he might respond. She explained everything: the incident at the boutique, the backlash, her feelings of guilt and shame. She ended the letter with a simple plea. If you're willing, I'd love to meet you. I could really use your advice. Right now. After sealing the envelope, Madison handed it to Susan, who promised to send it to Dwayne's management team. For the first time in days, Madison allowed herself to feel a glimmer of optimism. Whatever happened next, she knew she couldn't undo the past. But maybe, just maybe, she could find a way to move forward. Outside, the protests continued. The hashtags kept trending. And across the country, people remained divided over whether Madison deserved forgiveness. Yet in the midst of all the noise, Madison clung to the possibility that her story wasn't over yet. Little did she know Dwayne Johnson had already received her letter, and he was ready to help. Madison spent the next few days waiting anxiously for a response from Dwayne Johnson. She replayed every word of her letter in her mind, wondering if she had said too much or not enough. What if he didn't believe her? What if he thought she was just trying to use him to fix her problems? The uncertainty gnawed at her, making it hard to focus on anything else. Meanwhile, the controversy surrounding the boutique continued to grow. Protesters gathered outside Bella's boutique daily, holding signs and chanting slogans about racial equality. Local news stations aired updates on the situation, often featuring interviews with Tiffany, Brianna, and their adoptive mother, Lauren Carter. Lauren spoke passionately about the need for systemic change in retail spaces, calling for businesses to take responsibility for fostering inclusive environments. The pressure mounted on Madison as well. Social media users dug into her past, uncovering old posts and photos that painted her in an unflattering light. Some accused her of having a history of microaggressions, while others speculated about her character based on snippets of information taken out of context. It felt like the entire world was watching and judging her every move. Despite the chaos, Madison tried to stay grounded. She spent hours reflecting on what had happened, replaying the incident over and over in her mind. She realized now how wrong she had been to lash out at Tiffany and Brianna. Her words hadn't just hurt them, they had reinforced harmful stereotypes and contributed to a culture of exclusion. The guilt weighed heavily on her, but she also knew that feeling bad wasn't enough. If she wanted to make things right, she needed to take action. Then finally, the call came. It was Susan. "He wants to meet you," she said simply, her voice tinged with excitement. Madison froze, the phone pressed tightly against her ear. "Really?" she asked, barely able to believe it. "Yes," Susan replied. "His team reached out this morning. He's flying into Los Angeles tomorrow and he wants to see you in person." Madison's heart raced. She hadn't expected him to respond so quickly, or at all. Now, faced with the reality of meeting her biological father for the first time, she felt a mix of emotions: excitement, fear, and even a little disbelief. The following day, Madison arrived at a quiet cafe near the beach, where Dwayne had agreed to meet her. She sat nervously at a corner table, clutching her coffee cup with both hands. Her mind was a whirlwind of questions. Would he be kind? Would he understand her struggles? And most importantly, would he forgive her for reaching out under such difficult circumstances? When Dwayne walked in, Madison recognized him immediately. Even without his signature muscular frame or flashy attire, there was no mistaking the man who had inspired millions around the world. He scanned the room briefly before spotting her and walking over with a warm smile. "Madison?" he asked, his deep voice instantly calming. She nodded, standing up awkwardly. "Hi, Mr. Johnson." He chuckled softly. "Please call me Dwayne." They sat down together, and for a moment neither of them spoke. Madison studied him carefully, searching for any resemblance between them. His eyes, she noticed, were similar to hers, bright and expressive. "So," Dwayne began, leaning forward slightly, "your mom told me everything about the boutique, the video, the backlash, and about us." Madison swallowed hard, suddenly feeling self-conscious. "I'm sorry if this is weird for you. I wasn't sure if I should reach out, but I didn't know what else to do." Dwayne shook his head. Don't apologize, I'm glad you did. Finding out something like this can't be easy, for either of us. But here we are. His kindness put Madison at ease, and she found herself opening up to him in a way she hadn't anticipated. She told him about the stress she had been under at work, the moment when she lost her temper, and the overwhelming guilt she had felt ever since. She admitted that she didn't know how to fix things or regain trust, not just from Tiffany and Brianna, but from everyone who had seen the video. Dwayne listened intently, nodding occasionally. When she finished, he leaned back in his chair and let out a thoughtful sigh. "You know," he said, "everyone makes mistakes. I've made plenty myself. What matters isn't the mistake itself, it's what you do after. How you learn, how you grow, and how you use that experience to help others." Madison nodded slowly, absorbing his words. "That's what I want to do," she said earnestly. "I don't want this to define me. I want to make things right." Dwayne smiled. "Good. Because you have the power to turn this around. Start by apologizing, not just with words but with actions. Show people that you're willing to listen, to learn, and to change." He suggested that Madison reach out directly to Tiffany, Brianna, and Lauren Carter. A sincere apology, he explained, could go a long way toward healing the rift. He also encouraged her to partner with organizations focused on combating racism and promoting inclusivity, using her platform to amplify their message. By the end of their conversation, Madison felt a renewed sense of purpose. For the first time in days, she believed that redemption was possible. As they parted ways, Dwayne gave her a reassuring hug. "I'm proud of you for taking this step," he said, "and I'll support you however I can." Those words meant more to Madison than she could express. Over the next few days, Madison worked tirelessly to implement Dwayne's advice. She drafted a heartfelt letter to Lauren Carter, expressing her remorse and asking for a chance to speak with Tiffany and Brianna. To her relief, Lauren responded positively, agreeing to arrange a meeting. Madison also began researching organizations dedicated to racial justice and inclusion. She reached out to several, offering her assistance and proposing ideas for collaboration. One group in particular caught her attention, a nonprofit called Youth Empowerment Alliance, which provided mentorship and resources to young women of color interested in careers in fashion and design. With Dwayne's encouragement, Madison decided to launch a program through the boutique aimed at supporting these efforts. She envisioned workshops, internships, and networking opportunities designed to uplift aspiring designers and entrepreneurs from marginalized communities. It was a bold step, but one she felt deeply committed to. As she prepared for her meeting with Tiffany, Brianna, and Lauren, Madison couldn't help but reflect on how much had changed in such a short time. Discovering her connection to Dwayne Johnson had been unexpected, but it had given her a new perspective on resilience and accountability. More importantly, it had reminded her that growth often comes from discomfort, and that even in her darkest moments, there was always a path forward. When the day of the meeting finally arrived, Madison felt nervous but hopeful. She knew that earning forgiveness wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to try. With Dwayne's guidance fresh in her mind, she stepped into the room ready to face whatever came next. What she didn't realize yet was that this encounter would mark the beginning of a transformative journey, not just for her but for everyone involved. The day of the meeting arrived, and Madison found herself standing outside a small community center in Los Angeles. Her hands trembled as she clutched the folder containing her notes and proposals. She took a deep breath, reminding herself of everything Dwayne had said about accountability and growth. This was her chance to make things right, or at least try. Inside, Tiffany, Brianna, and Lauren Carter were waiting for her. The room was simple but welcoming, with posters of inspirational quotes lining the walls and a few chairs arranged in a circle. Lauren greeted Madison first, her expression calm but guarded. Tiffany and Brianna sat side by side, their arms crossed over their chests. They didn't smile or offer any sign of warmth, and Madison couldn't blame them. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me," Madison began, her voice steady despite the nerves bubbling inside her. I know this isn't easy, and I don't expect forgiveness right away, but I want to say how truly sorry I am for what I said, for how I acted, and for making you feel unwelcome in my store. Lauren nodded slowly, her eyes studying Madison, carefully. Go on, she said simply. Madison swallowed hard and continued. What happened that day was wrong, and it's something I'll regret for the rest of my life. I let my frustration get the better of me, and instead of handling the situation with kindness and understanding, I reacted out of anger. That's not who I want to be, and it's not who I'm going to be moving forward. She paused, glancing at Tiffany and Brianna. Their faces remained unreadable, but she pressed on. I've spent a lot of time thinking about what I can do to make things right. Not just for you three, but for everyone who has experienced discrimination in places, like my boutique. With the help of some incredible organizations, I'm working on launching a mentorship program aimed at supporting young women of color in fashion and design. It's still in its early stages, but I'd love for you to be part of it if you're interested. For a moment, no one spoke. The silence stretched out, heavy and uncertain. Finally, Lauren broke it. You're taking steps in the right direction, she said evenly. But actions speak louder than words, Madison. We'll see if your efforts lead to real change. Tiffany shifted in her seat, finally looking up at Madison. Do you even understand why what you said hurt so much? She asked, her voice quiet but firm. Madison hesitated, then nodded. Yes, I do now. At the time, I didn't realize how my words could reinforce harmful stereotypes and make people feel like they don't belong. But I've been learning. A lot. And I promise I'll keep learning. I never want anyone to feel the way you did, because of me. Brianna spoke next, her tone cautious. It's not just about what you said that day. It's about all the times black girls walk into stores and get treated differently. Like we're not good enough or we don't deserve to be there. Madison felt a lump rise in her throat. You're absolutely right, she admitted. And I'm so sorry for being part of that problem. I want to help change it. Not just for my boutique, but for other places too. Lauren leaned forward slightly, her gaze softening just a fraction. We appreciate your apology, Madison, and we're willing to hear more about your plans. But remember, trust takes time to rebuild. You'll need to prove yourself through consistent action. Madison nodded earnestly. I understand. Thank you for giving me this chance. As the meeting drew to a close, Madison felt a mix of relief and determination. While she knew she had a long road ahead of her, she also felt hopeful for the first time in weeks. For the first time, she believed she might actually be able to turn things around. Later that evening, Madison called Dwayne to update him on the meeting. She described the conversation in detail, sharing both the tough moments and the glimmers of hope. They didn't forgive me outright, she admitted, but they seemed open to hearing more about what I'm planning. Lauren especially seemed willing to work with me if I follow through. That's great, Dwayne replied, his voice warm with encouragement. Trust is earned step by step. Keep showing up, keep listening, and keep doing the work. That's all anyone can ask for. Madison smiled faintly. I couldn't have done this without you, Dwayne. Meeting you, it changed everything for me. Knowing where I come from gives me strength I didn't know I had. Dwayne chuckled softly. You always had that strength, Madison. I just helped remind you of it. Now, go out there and show the world what you're made of. Hanging up the phone, Madison felt a renewed sense of purpose. Over the next few weeks, she threw herself into her new initiatives. She partnered with Youth Empowerment Alliance to host workshops at the boutique, inviting local designers and entrepreneurs to share their stories and insights. She also worked closely with Lauren Carter, who agreed to serve as an advisor for the mentorship program. Together, they crafted a curriculum focused on leadership, creativity, and overcoming obstacles in the fashion industry. Word of Madison's efforts began to spread. Social media users who had once criticized her started posting updates about her transformation, praising her willingness to take responsibility and make meaningful changes. Some even shared photos of the workshops, highlighting the diverse group of participants and the positive energy in the room. One afternoon, during a workshop session, Madison noticed Tiffany and Brianna sitting in the back row. They hadn't announced their attendance beforehand, and Madison was surprised but pleased to see them there. After the session ended, she approached them cautiously. "I wasn't sure if you'd come," she said, smiling nervously. Tiffany shrugged. "We figured we'd check it out, see if you're serious about all this." "And?" Madison asked, holding her breath. Brianna grinned slightly. "It's a start," she said. "We'll see where it goes." Madison let out a relieved laugh. "Fair enough, thank you for coming." Over time, Madison's relationship with Tiffany and Brianna began to improve. They attended more workshops, offering feedback and suggestions that helped shape the program. Slowly but surely, they started to trust her again, or at least give her the benefit of the doubt. Meanwhile, the boutique itself underwent a transformation. Madison redesigned the space to reflect the values of inclusivity and diversity she now championed. She commissioned artwork from Black artists, created displays celebrating underrepresented voices in fashion, and implemented training programs for her staff focused on cultural sensitivity. Customers noticed the difference immediately, and business began to pick up once more. By the end of the year, Madison's efforts had gained national attention. She appeared on several talk shows, discussing her journey and encouraging others to confront their biases and strive for change. Dwayne joined her for one of the interviews, proudly supporting her as she shared her story. "I used to think success meant perfection," Madison told the audience. "But now I know it means growth. It means owning your mistakes, learning from them, and using them to make the world a better place, even if it's just a little bit at a time." Her words resonated deeply, inspiring countless viewers to reflect on their own lives and choices. For Madison, the experience was proof that redemption was possible, that even in the face of immense challenges, there was always a path forward. And as she stood beside Dwayne, basking in the applause of the crowd, Madison realized something else. She wasn't alone anymore. She had a father who believed in her, two young women who challenged her to be better, and a community that inspired her every day. Though the road ahead would still have its ups and downs, Madison knew she was ready to face whatever came next, with courage, humility, and hope. Months had passed since the incident at the boutique, and Madison's life had transformed in ways she never could have imagined. The once quiet manager of Bella's boutique was now a public figure, known not just for her mistakes, but for her efforts to make amends. Her story had become a symbol of redemption, a reminder that even when people stumble, they can rise again with determination and humility. The mentorship program Madison launched had grown into something far bigger than she initially envisioned. What started as a small initiative within the boutique expanded to include partnerships with schools, community centers, and fashion brands across Los Angeles. Young women of color from all walks of life joined the program, eager to learn about design, entrepreneurship, and leadership. Many credited Madison's work with giving them opportunities they never thought possible. Tiffany and Brianna, who had once walked out of the boutique feeling hurt and dismissed, were now active participants in the program. They attended workshops regularly, sharing their ideas and experiences with other young women. Over time, their relationship with Madison deepened. While forgiveness didn't come overnight, it grew steadily through shared moments of collaboration and understanding. One evening, after a particularly inspiring workshop, Tiffany pulled Madison aside. "You know," she said hesitantly, "when this whole thing started, I wasn't sure if you were serious about changing, but I think you are." Madison smiled softly, touched by the comment. "Thank you for saying that, Tiffany. It means a lot," Brianna chimed in, her tone lighter than usual. "Yeah, and we kinda like some of the stuff you've been doing, like that mural outside." "That was cool," Madison laughed. "I'll tell the artist you liked it. Honestly, none of this would have happened without you two pushing me to do better." The conversation marked a turning point. For the first time, Madison felt like she was truly earning their trust, not because she demanded it, but because she had earned it through consistent effort. As the program gained momentum, so did Madison's connection with Dwayne Johnson. Their bond strengthened with each passing week, evolving from an initial meeting rooted in crisis to a genuine father-daughter relationship. Dwayne often checked in on Madison, offering advice and encouragement whenever she faced challenges. He became her biggest cheerleader, using his platform to promote the mentorship program and amplify its impact. "You're doing amazing work," he told her during one of their phone calls. "Keep going. You're making a real difference." Pridon beamed at his words. Having Dwayne in her corner gave her confidence she hadn't realized she lacked. Knowing that someone as accomplished and compassionate as him believed in her made her feel unstoppable. But it wasn't just Dwayne who supported her. Susan, Madison's mother, also played a crucial role in her journey. Seeing her daughter step up and take responsibility filled Susan with pride. She attended several events hosted by the boutique, cheering Madison on from the sidelines. "You've come such a long way," Susan said one evening after a successful workshop. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart." Madison hugged her tightly. "Thanks, Mom. I couldn't have done any of this without you or without Dwayne." Despite the progress she'd made, Madison still encountered challenges. Not everyone forgave her immediately, and some critics remained skeptical of her intentions. Online trolls continued to post hateful comments, accusing her of using the controversy for publicity. Even some customers at the boutique grumbled about the changes, claiming the store had lost its charm. But Madison refused to let negativity derail her. Instead, she focused on the positives: the young women whose lives were being impacted, the supportive community rallying around her, and the personal growth she experienced along the way. One day, while scrolling through social media, Madison stumbled upon a post written by Lauren Carter. In it, Lauren praised Madison's dedication to creating a more inclusive environment, acknowledging the tangible improvements she'd brought to the boutique and beyond. "Change isn't easy," Lauren wrote. "But Madison has shown us that it's possible. She's turned a painful moment into an opportunity for growth, not just for herself, but for everyone involved." Reading those words filled Madison with gratitude. Lauren's endorsement carried weight, and it helped silence some of the lingering doubts people had about her sincerity. As the months went by, Madison decided to take her mission a step further. Inspired by the success of the mentorship program, she began organizing larger events aimed at addressing systemic issues in the fashion industry. One such event was a panel discussion featuring designers, activists, and business leaders discussing diversity and representation in retail spaces. The event drew a large crowd, including many influential figures in the fashion world. Madison stood on stage alongside Lauren Carter, who served as the keynote speaker. Together, they spoke passionately about the importance of inclusivity and the need for meaningful change. "Retail spaces should be safe havens for everyone," Madison said during her speech. "No one should ever feel unwelcome because of their race, gender, or background. If my story helps inspire even one person to create a more inclusive environment, then everything I've been through will have been worth it." Her words resonated deeply with the audience, earning a standing ovation. Backstage after the event, Lauren approached Madison with a warm smile. "You've done incredible work," Lauren said. "I'm proud of how far you've come and how much you've accomplished." Madison blinked back tears. "Thank you, Lauren. Your support has meant the world to me." By the end of the year, Madison's boutique had become a beacon of hope and innovation in Los Angeles. Customers flocked to the store not only for its stylish offerings but also for its commitment to celebrating diversity. The walls were adorned with artwork created by local Black artists, and the racks featured clothing designed by emerging talents from underrepresented communities. Even the staff had changed. Madison hired employees from diverse backgrounds, ensuring that the boutique reflected the rich tapestry of cultures in the city. Training sessions focused on empathy and cultural sensitivity became standard practice, fostering an atmosphere of mutual respect and understanding. For Madison, the transformation extended beyond the boutique. She had grown personally, learning to confront her biases and embrace vulnerability as a strength rather than a weakness. Her relationship with Tiffany and Brianna continued to flourish, and she cherished the role she played in their lives. 1. Afternoon. As Madison stood behind the counter watching customers browse the store, she felt a sense of peace she hadn't known before. The journey hadn't been easy, far from it, but every challenge had led her closer to becoming the person she was always meant to be. Dwayne called her later that evening, his voice full of pride. "How's it going?" he asked. "It's going great," Madison replied, smiling. "Everything feels right." "That's because you made it right," Dwayne said. "You took a tough situation and turned it into something beautiful. I'm so proud of you, Madison." As she hung up the phone, Madison looked around the boutique one last time before closing up for the night. The space was alive with warmth and energy, a testament to the power of resilience and redemption. Though her journey wasn't over, Madison knew she was exactly where she was supposed to be, and for the first time in a long time, she felt truly at home. A year had passed since the day Madison's life changed forever. The boutique that once symbolized stress and conflict now stood as a testament to growth, resilience, and transformation. It wasn't just a store anymore. It was a community hub, a place where people of all backgrounds felt welcome and valued. Madison spent her days surrounded by creativity and purpose. The mentorship program she had started continued to thrive, expanding beyond Los Angeles to reach cities across the country. Young women from diverse communities flocked to the workshops, eager to learn about fashion design, entrepreneurship, and leadership. Many credited Madison's efforts with helping them see possibilities they never imagined for themselves. One of those young women was Brianna. Over the past year, she had blossomed into a confident designer, creating bold and vibrant pieces inspired by her culture and experiences. Her work caught the attention of a major fashion brand, which offered her an internship, a dream come true for someone her age. "I couldn't have done this without you," Brianna told Madison one afternoon as they sat together in the boutique. "You gave me a chance when I didn't think anyone would." Madison smiled warmly, feeling a swell of pride. "You did all the hard work, Brianna. I just gave you the tools. You're the one who made it happen." Tiffany, too, found her own path through the program. She discovered a passion for photography and began documenting the stories of the young women involved in the initiative. Her photos were raw and powerful, capturing moments of joy, determination, and triumph. Together, Tiffany and Brianna became ambassadors for the program, inspiring others to pursue their dreams despite the odds. Lauren Carter remained a constant source of support for Madison. Their relationship had evolved from cautious collaboration to genuine friendship. Lauren often joined Madison at events, speaking passionately about the importance of diversity and inclusion in every industry. "You've created something truly special here," Lauren said during one of their conversations. "It's not just about fashion, it's about giving people a voice and a platform. That's what real change looks like." Madison nodded, reflecting on how much she had learned from Lauren. "Thank you for believing in me even when I didn't believe in myself. You've been such an important part of this journey." Lauren smiled. "And you've reminded us all that no matter where we start, we can always choose to grow. That's a lesson worth sharing." Dwayne Johnson remained a steadfast presence in Madison's life. Their bond deepened with each passing month, built on mutual respect and admiration. Dwayne often visited Los Angeles, taking time to attend events at the boutique and meet the young women involved in the program. His kindness and humility left a lasting impression on everyone he encountered. "You're making a difference, Madison," he told her during one of his visits, "not just in these girls' lives, but in the world. Keep going, you're changing things for the better." Madison hugged him tightly, overwhelmed with gratitude. "I wouldn't be here without you, Dwayne. You've shown me what it means to lead with heart." Through Dwayne, Madison also connected with other influential figures in the entertainment and fashion industries. These connections opened doors she never dreamed possible, allowing her to secure funding and resources for the program. The boutique became a model for businesses looking to prioritize inclusivity, drawing visitors from around the globe. Despite the progress, Madison knew there was still work to be done. Not everyone supported her efforts. Some critics argued that her actions were performative or questioned whether she deserved forgiveness. Online trolls occasionally surfaced, posting hurtful comments designed to undermine her achievements. But Madison refused to let negativity define her. Instead, she used these moments as opportunities to reflect and grow. She understood that change was a process, one that required patience, persistence, and grace. "You'll always face doubters," Lauren reminded her during a quiet moment. "But the people who matter will see the truth. Focus on them and on the impact you're making." Madison took those words to heart, channeling her energy into meaningful action. She launched a scholarship fund to support aspiring designers from marginalized communities, ensuring that financial barriers wouldn't stand in the way of their dreams. She also partnered with local schools to introduce students to careers in fashion and retail, planting seeds of possibility in young minds. One evening, as the sun set over Los Angeles, Madison stood outside the boutique, watching the city hum with life. The street was alive with laughter and conversation, a stark contrast to the tension that had filled the air a year ago. Inside the boutique, Tiffany and Brianna were setting up for an exhibition showcasing their latest projects. "You ready?" Tiffany asked, peeking out the door. Madison grinned. More than ever. The exhibition was a celebration of everything they had achieved together, a tribute to resilience, creativity, and unity. Guests mingled among displays of clothing, art, and photography, marveling at the talent on display. Speeches were given, tears were shed, and hugs were exchanged freely. As Madison took the stage to speak, she looked out at the crowd gathered before her. There were faces she recognized, friends, mentors, supporters, and faces she didn't, strangers who had been touched by the program's mission. "This journey has taught me so much," Madison began, her voice steady and heartfelt. "It's taught me that mistakes don't define us. It's what we do after that matters. It's taught me the power of listening, learning, and growing. And most importantly, it's taught me that none of us are alone. We're stronger when we stand together." She paused, glancing at Tiffany, Brianna, and Lauren in the front row. "To everyone here tonight, thank you. Thank you for believing in this vision, for supporting each other, and for proving that change is possible. Let's keep building a world where everyone belongs." The room erupted in applause, the sound echoing through the night. Madison stepped down from the stage, greeted by hugs and congratulations. As she embraced Tiffany and Brianna, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment. In the weeks that followed, Madison reflected on how far she had come. The boutique was thriving, the mentorship program was growing, and her relationships with the people who mattered most were stronger than ever. She thought back to the day she first met Dwayne, the man she now proudly called her father. He had shown her the importance of accountability and compassion, guiding her through the toughest chapter of her life. Through him, she had discovered not only her roots but also her potential. Madison also thought about Susan, the mother who had raised her with love and sacrifice. Susan had always believed in her, even when Madison doubted herself. Their bond had deepened over the past year, strengthened by shared challenges and triumphs. And then there were Tiffany and Brianna, the two girls whose courage and resilience had inspired so much change. They weren't just participants in the program, they were family. As Madison closed up the boutique one evening, she paused to take it all in. The space was warm and inviting, a reflection of the values she now held dear. She realized that this wasn't just the end of a difficult journey, it was the beginning of a brighter future. For Madison, redemption hadn't been about erasing the past. It had been about embracing it, learning from it, and using it to create something beautiful. And, as she locked the door behind her, stepping out into the cool night air, she knew one thing for certain. She was ready for whatever came next.